Alright, it's time to share one of my main moneymakers ever since End of Dragons launched. I've postponed making this video for far too long, not because I wanted to keep this all to myself, but rather because there is a caveat making this a bit more convoluted than I'd like. I've been making 1 tier 10 Jadebot core per day. You can farm the materials in about half an hour to an hour, and they sell for 40 gold on a trading post. It isn't 40 gold of pure profit, however, as you'll need to come up with research nodes, which is the caveat I mentioned. The reason I only choose to make 1 per day is because you'll need lumps of Mitrillium for a Sunlight Electrum ingot. If you have more of those stockpiled, you could make more of course, but for this video I'm assuming we're starting from an empty bank. If you were to consult GW2 efficiency, you might be disappointed at the profit they're listing when looking for a tier 10 core. But that's because they are suggesting you to buy a tier 9 core and all of the pieces of Dragon Jade. If we select the option to craft those instead, our profits will significantly increase. Mind you that they're listing the profit if you were buying all of the materials and they're not accounting for the cost of research nodes. As you can see from the shopping list they provide, we'll mainly need to come up with tons of ores and a few globs of ectoplasm. Before I get to those, let's get the research nodes out of the way. You'll need 1753 in total. If you try to obtain those at whatever cost, you will decimate any of your potential profit. Or worse, come out at a loss if you're buying the rest of the materials. I would advise you to stay below 1 silver per node. On the fast farming website, they currently show you the cheapest option to get nodes. Right now, this sits at 87 copper. This translates to around 15 gold spent on the nodes. If you were buying all of the materials for them, you can also choose to farm those. Something I often do is salvage ascended gear, as I frequently get pieces from raids, strikes and fractals I don't need anymore. But that's because I have legendary gear in most slots. If you don't have this luxury, don't do this, keep them for your other characters. If you need a more in-depth guide on research nodes, check out my video in the pinned comments. And with that out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. How you can farm all of the ingredients, including those for your research nodes. You'll want to focus on gathering and more specifically on mining the more expensive ores. If you're not feeling like going after copper nodes, you can buy copper for a very cheap price at the trading post. I still frequently mine silver and gold nodes, despite the ore being rather cheap on the trading post as well, simply because those nodes have a chance of dropping sunstone nuggets and lumps, which will fetch you a decent price when you're selling them. If you follow the rich iron, platinum and orichalcum routes listed on GW2 efficiency, or those provided by Techit in Blishot, you'll spend around 30 minutes to come up with all of those as well. The mithril usually takes care of itself when gathering other resources. If you're severely lacking mithril, just spend time in any level 80 zone. If you'd rather not hunt down rich nodes, knowing which maps feature which nodes will greatly help you, especially for iron and platinum. If you're after those specifically, you'll want to spend some time in Lorner's Pass, Dredgehound Cliffs and Bloodtide Coast for iron, or in the Iron Marshes, Sparkfly Fen and Mount Maelstrom for platinum. You can mine 60 chunks of pure jade per day in Dragon's End, and you'll only need 44 for a single tier 10 core. You can increase this amount through a Glyph of Bounty and some of the gathering boosters though. I published an in-depth gathering guide yesterday, so I would suggest you check that one out if any of the things I just mentioned sound foreign to you. If you don't have a Glyph of Bounty, you can buy mining picks of bounty which have 50 uses for 7350 karma from one of the gathering vendors in the main cities. The final ingredient you'll need is globs of ectoplasm. You'll need 23, which should be fairly easy to come up with by participating in a meta event or two. I would suggest running Octavine in Auric Basin, as this will largely cover the amounts in only a few minutes. And that's all there is to it, really. I make one of these per day, which nets me 40 gold. That's 280 gold per week and over 1k gold per month. But only because I like farming for the materials. If you're buying everything from the trading post, you'll have to closely monitor how much you're actually spending on the ingredients and on the research nodes as well. If you want the best of both worlds, you could also choose to buy the cheaper ores on a trading post and mine iron, platinum, orichalcum and jade yourself. There is one way to increase your profits even further, by making and selling the lower tier cores instead. For this, you'll want to consult the fast farming website once again and stick to the most profitable one they're listing. I chose to focus on tier 10 cores in this video because this covers every possible option, but if you were to make tier 5 cores, at the moment you would come out ahead. I'll of course leave a link in a pinned comment so you don't have to calculate this by yourself every single day. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below, And who knows, maybe if you like and subscribe, ArenaNet will finally give us a tier 11 core.